Coming to you live from the Business Radio X studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley. It's great to have you today, and I'm excited. I love to talk about the Bay Area, and I love to talk about food. And I guess if you put the two together, you know that it's going to be a good conversation. So we're going to talk about a brand that I've gotten to know here recently, and I want to make an introduction to the brand CEO. His name is Grégoire Jacquet. He is the owner and founder of Grégoire Restaurant. And I really wanted to jump into I'm looking forward to the discussion today because we're going to talk about his unique approach to launching these local restaurants. And so excited to have him on the show. Grégoire, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me today, Rob. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You got it. So before we jump into some details about the franchise brand, tell us a little bit about how all this came to be. How did you get into the business of being a renowned chef and restaurateur and now franchisor?
Wow. So it's a long story, and it started really when I was young, really young, when my parents moved to the French countryside, where the village where I grew up was about 80 people, and we raised chickens and we had a huge garden. And that's really where I started appreciating where really the food came from growth to plate. I mean, we used to slaughter the pig, twice a year and make sausages and ham. And so it was really a down-to-earth experience for me. And my parents not being very wealthy, I had never been to a restaurant ever until I was 14. Then I had that experience that you could actually eat somewhere and have someone cook for you. And that for me was a grand experience. I love to cook. I love to eat. And that was something I really decided that I wanted to do. So I went to cooking school for 3 to 4 years, where I got my diploma and I started working, learning, doing different experience in the business. I tried collectivity, which is, like big amount of food cooked. And I tried farming and food cooking with the farm. I tried auberge. I tried brasserie. I tried a lot of things. And the things that really came out to be, for me, the most enjoyable was fine dining. I love to do fine dining. I loved the meticulousness of preparation, the provenance of product and how important they are, the quality of the product we would get. And that for me was just amazing. So I worked in fine dining for many years. I've worked in fine dining in Paris for a couple of years, and then I moved to the US after a short vacation. I met with a French master chef called Jacques Robert, and he took me under his wings, which was a big wing. He had a fantastic restaurant in San Francisco called Amelios, and I worked with him for 5 years, and it was really a great experience for me to learn not only about American way of eating, but also American way of working, which when you come from France, don't really have the best way of working and interacting with other employees. So that was a huge thing. But I wanted more than that. I wanted to actually know more about management, because even though Jackie was fantastic in the kitchen, he liked that business savviness. He had a business partner that was helping him for that. But, if you look at being completely well-rounded, that was missing for me. So I asked him if I could go work for one of the biggest hotel company, the best hotel company, the Ritz-Carlton. We had one in San Francisco, and I said, "Can you find me a job over there?" And he said, "Sure." Waited 6 months, and he got me a job as a banquet chef, which was excellent. So there I learned about numbers. I learned about cooking food for more than 1,000 people at a time, still using fantastic ingredients as well as some techniques. So I did that for 7 years, traveled a lot in the world, Asia. I opened hotels all over in Jamaica, and I end up being in Boston. I mean, in Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, my last tenure at the Ritz-Carlton, and my wife and I wanted to create a family, so we decided to come back to Berkeley, where she's from, and open our own restaurant. So that's where really, my entrepreneurship business, met together, and really that's when I tried to think what kind of business I wanted to do.
Right.
And I mean, all my experience and all my thoughts and the fine dining and the way of living, my way of living, and my wife and the baby on the way was all this factor made me realize that I didn't want a big restaurant. I wanted something really small, something really neighborly, something where I would be the face and the voice of the business. I didn't want a big dining room. I didn't want any dining room, just because I wanted to be the one giving the food away. I wanted to be the one talking about the food. I wanted the food to be super high-end. I wanted the food to be using local ingredients, just because this is how I grew up. I wanted the food to be to go, because I didn't want to have a dining room, so I needed to find a way to to give the food away. And really I wanted something really small, because I was just by myself, and my wife would be taking care of the kid, the baby, and I would be working, and that's how it started, really.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, you're as you're talking, I'm thinking in my mind, how do you do that, right? What you just described, how would you take that level of quality, that sort of background of fresh from field to plate, or however you were talking about it earlier. So truly about fresh ingredients, local ingredients, high quality ingredients. And then you hit on something really important, which was being able to talk about the food, right? Being able to build relationships with your customers, and whether they're businesses or consumers, it could be anyone in your community there. And that is hard, right? It's hard to be able to cook that, prepare that, run that, manage all that, and do that, right? So I think that kind of tees up my follow-up question, which is one of the big reasons we're talking today, which is your approach, right? So how do you solve that problem? How can someone launch a local business, maintain such a high quality for food, for freshness and quality? Right? How can that be done? And I think you have a good answer for us. So tell us a little bit about your approach to how you would launch a new location and achieve what you just were talking about.
Well, the model of Grégoire is, obviously awesome food that is local as much as possible, because because the amount of food we're using sometimes cannot just be sourced locally, but as much as we can. I have my farmers, and they're ready to go on with the amount of business we're doing. But also the model of this business is to change the menu seasonally, which makes it very difficult when you want to open a franchise, because when you change things, then you need to train people, and then you need to teach them how to do. You need to. I mean, it's a long process to change things in a franchise. That's why, most of the franchise they are set, and once in a while they do a special, or once in a while they do something different. But so for the longest time, I knew this business model was duplicable, but I didn't know how. I thought I was the only one being able to duplicate that model. because I was the only one to knew how to do everything. But I realized that I can't do everything. And so I really focused on how I was going to be able to duplicate. The best way to do that would be, so if me, the franchise, or is keeping control of the product by doing all the recipes and all the food at one location. So we would get everything to come to one location, and we would cook everything, portion everything, and send it to the franchisee. The only way we can do that also, it's by having local market open. So we cannot be like another franchise where, you open a franchise and you go, okay, I'm going to open this market. I'm going to open California, and I'm going to open Wyoming or Washington, and then pluck different franchise over there. That's not going to work for us, because we're so centralized into quality and into support, and because the support is going to come when we change the menu. We have to be there. We have to be able to train them easily. So that's why we just, we're open just local market one at a time. And that's probably the only way a business model like this can work.
So you're referring to like a hub and spoke model, where you have like in the Bay Area, one centralized hub that would support the satellite businesses or local restaurants.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, we refer it as a culinary hub.
Okay.
Just because, yes, just because out of this place, we will, create recipes. We will receive ingredients that are really top notch, and that we have to respect and teach the franchisee to respect. So the plan is that we open a central kitchen, a culinary hub in every market. Yes. Yeah. And then, so the franchisee would put in an order. It's all digital, but they would do an inventory at night, every night, and put an order for what they need the next day. And we would fulfill the order and deliver it the next day. So they would have fresh food every day, basically.
Yeah, that's amazing. So in terms of the model itself, you had said earlier, you didn't envision really having a dining experience as much as a high quality food experience, right? And so tell us a little more about that. Like you're not these restaurants, can people eat in, or is it purely go and pick up and take? Or tell me a little bit about the options for folks. Even though it's high quality food, like fine dining, it is something where you can go and get it and take it home. So tell us a little more about the different options. Yeah.
So when I first thought about Grégoire and the way I wanted to, operate the business, my second hurdle, the first hurdle was, how do I do this? The second hurdle was, how do I make sure that the product arrives as best as possible from the restaurant to the people's table? And I had no control over the packaging that was there 20 years ago, because that's when we started. It was just clamshell and thin cardboard and styrofoam. That's all I had to work with, and that was not going to cut it. So my wife and I, I bought a software, a design software, and I created my own box, my own cardboard box, which I went to a box company next to Berkeley, next door, and I asked them if they could do it, and they say, sure, we can do that. And I started ordering the box, thousands and thousands at a time. And so we have the cutter, we have patent over the design of the box. And now that box is amazing because, I can put anything in the box and it'll stay fresh, it'll stay hot, it'll stay warm, it'll stay cold if it's cold. It's really made for traveling. And so you can take it and you can take some hot food 20, 30 minutes away from the restaurant and it still will be hot. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I think about a couple things when you talk about that. I think about packaging, the importance of packaging in marketing, right? In quality. When we think about Apple, right? Who's not too far from you guys, right? How great their packaging is. Like everybody, if you ask people, hey, do you have any Apple products? And you ask them if they kept the box. Most of them say, yeah, kept the box.
That's right.
It's just too nice of a box to keep. But I mean, it's like, or to throw away. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an important consideration, not only the functionality of it, right? The function of it, but the look of it, right? It's congruent with the quality of the food inside of it. And I think that's an interesting thing that you saw. Plus, the other thing that came to mind, and I was wondering maybe if did any of this change in the last few years that we've gone through the COVID that we've been through and the way a lot of restaurants have had to change and offer different options. But were you guys pretty much, this was what your plan was anyway, but I'm just thinking, what a great model in any scenario, right? Like it would work even in a pandemic scenario, right? Given the way you built. But tell me more about that. What are your thoughts?
Definitely, I mean, we got hit, just like everybody else, and California being California, we really needed to react quickly in order to stay in business and provide for our guests. Luckily, we were set. Luckily, we had a model that people could trust 100%, knowing that it was takeout. Luckily, we had a small footprint restaurant, which allowed us to close every doors and just do business within, and still being able to reach the customer outside, putting the food on the table when it was ready. So yes, we did get hurt and we did lost thousands and thousands of dollars in catering, which we regained on walk-in people and people that needed to get food carry out, which was more when you look at it. So overall, this business is really made for every situation, I would say.
Yeah. No, I mean, digitalizing was what would be the fancy word we use, right? When you think of just an everyday business that's going to use digital technology to operate, in unique ways to better serve the audience. I think that whether COVID was a little bit of a boost to some of these ideas, I still think a lot of them were there. Like folks like what we're talking about. They like good quality food, get it, but I want to take it with me. I need a different situation, right? But folks cook less today. They'd like to take it home with them. Folks want to have a nice thing at the office or get, have food for the office. They want quality, right? It's kind of the trend of way we buy today, regardless of a COVID scenario, but it works good there too. So that's pretty amazing. So tell me a little bit as we're talking about marketing, when I'm launching a brand new restaurant, tell me a little bit about that. Like, I mean, obviously when I hear you talk, I can imagine that word of mouth, whether it's businesses or it's local businesses nearby, or it's just consumers walking in off the street, once you taste food and you have a good experience, it's, we're talking about it, right? So that's a huge thing. So are reviews. Clearly, anything online that more people talk about it is important. But tell me, what are your thoughts on how you look at marketing for each location?
Well, actually, you brought something funny, and I have plenty of story about my boxes. But, when it comes to marketing, that box is such a great passive marketing tool just because no one has this box. And it is actually, so recognizable. The logo is on it, is printed with a very bright color, and people can find it in every recycling box in in Berkeley. I mean, so much that even the garbage people come to me and say, we see this all over Berkeley. You must be so successful. So as a marketing tool, this, is number one. Well, number two, I mean, yes, Grégoire is Grégoire, and it's well known in the Bay Area already just because of, what we've been doing. But when it comes to the franchise, you first need to position yourself, as this type of business. So I'm doing a lot of marketing with marketing companies, and try to position the brand as being what it is. So I think marketing is really important when you want to grow and when you want to get known. The lucky thing that we have on our side is that by opening a small market, for instance, the Bay Area, we don't need to market all over the US to get our product known, or we just need to do it locally when we need to do it. So we can put a lot of money into marketing in one area at a time. So this is a plus for our franchise brand.
Yeah. No, I exactly. You made a very important point, and that is one at a time, one location at a time. And ultimately, as people get to know the brand and the quality of the food, then it grows from there. And of course, being available and visible to the people in that geography would be important. And the boxes are a good way to accomplish that. That is, you don't think of it, but that's a great example you gave me.
Yes.
The trash guys, right?
That's
The trash guys, the recycle guys know you because of all the boxes. And again, they look at them and go, that's a nice looking box. It sticks in your mind, right?
Yes.
So that's brilliant. So tell me a little bit. I mean, you've been through, the franchise experience, which, I always love when I speak to guys like you, because, you're sharing with the world something that you built and made extremely successful yourself. And you've been now sharing with the world this idea and giving others the opportunity to participate and run this locally. Tell me, in the process of doing that, especially the last few years that you've been building this out, tell me what you've learned, or is there anything you would want to leave as we wrap up today's show, our guests with, that you've maybe, that you think is pretty profound, or if there's a local story that you'd want to talk about that you think would also be good for the audience to hear about. Well,
I'm a pretty well-rounded guy. I'm a social guy. I like to talk. I do good food. I'm not the best chef in the world, and I don't claim to be, but I like to cook good food, good ingredients. I know business, not everything about business, but I can get by and I can run a successful restaurant. But even with all this, I made my mistake in business, and I have done things that I wish I would have known before, so I didn't do this mistake. For instance, as I said earlier, because I know so much, and because I'm so in touch with my business, I wanted to do everything, and that, I mean, that was good for a little bit, but when you do millions of dollars, yearly, it keeps up with you, and I got burned out. I just I couldn't do it by myself anymore, but I didn't know how to do it. So what I would tell people, I mean, finally, of course, I took a month off, and I adjusted my business in function of a new found lifestyle that I wanted, which was much more beneficiary for me as a business owner. So I could work on the business and not in my business. And this is what I do now. It's funny because, I'm so much happier now. But what I would tell people is that, there is always someone that does it better than you, and if you know how to use their their gift of doing things better than you, then you should, and it's not bad to you, or it doesn't diminish your ability to do things, but it's actually make you stronger and to build a stronger business, and a business that can sustain itself without you, basically. So I advise everyone that wants to open a business to first look at it as, something that they should work. They should work, and look at it the way I look at it now, meaning, you run a business, you're not running the business,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think I would rewind this part, right? This is working on the business, right? And being able to do that for many business owners is very challenging. And, when you have the opportunity to be involved with a franchise model, it's like you have to take a step back as a business owner and work even harder on the business until you put it in a position where others can take it and run with it and do what you do. And that's another level of perfection. But once it's in place, much easier for the others to plug into. And, you're solving everything you just talked about, right? So the franchisee doesn't have to come in and make those mistakes. They don't have to work in the business perpetually in order to have the benefits of the efficiencies that you bring or the innovations you bring, right? Because now your job is to work on the business, which is a good place to be as a franchisor. You're not so much a restaurant tour anymore, or running the restaurant as much as helping others run it. And that puts them in a great position and you in a great position. So I think that's very profound. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
It was great to have you today. I appreciate your time. Anything else that you wanted to leave with the audience before we go?
No, I'm very happy to have been on the show. I just want to say that, I never thought that franchising was something I wanted to do, just because of models that have been out there that didn't really match my business model. But even though it's not, you can find a way to make it happen. And I think that's what I did. I worked around the franchise model to make this franchise model work for my business.
Excellent. And where could folks reach you online if they were interested in learning more?
So, they can go on gfranchise.com. This is the franchise website. Or if they want to look at the product, is GrégoireRestaurant.com. Or they can give me a call if they want to. I have no secret. If you want to talk to me, it's 510-455-0494, and that's my cell phone. And I'm willing to answer any questions or anything they want to talk about.
All right, excellent. Well, it's great to have you today. Great learning about the restaurant and the opportunity. And we'll talk to you again soon. I want to thank our sponsor, IDS, for their support. And bye for now.